Are you out here on your own? Are you struggling to succeed at frugal living when it's just you in your household? I've got 9 amazing tips to help you thrive out here on my own. Welcome, I'm Amy, and here at Frugal Over 50, I give you tips and tools for frugal living. I want to say a special thank you to our viewer Nancy and to many others of you who have requested this video for the last several months. Thank you so much for this request. Let's talk about frugal living for the solo household. Number 1, assess your situation. Are you fairly new to living on your own because you're a recent empty nester, or because someone who was a life partner is no longer a life partner for a variety of reasons, some of them happy and some of them sad? Are you recently out on your own because you're a young person who stumbled across this video, and if you did, welcome, and you are out on your own for the very first time away from your parents' house? Whatever your reason is, and however long it is, it's important that you assess that and be very realistic in your understanding of yourself. That is to say, if you are recently out here on your own, you may have some experimenting to do, and that should be part of your assessment. If you have been out on your own for the last 10 years and you're still struggling, then that assessment is useful as well, because you've been trying some things and you may have some data that you can go back and look at what worked and what didn't work over the time that you've been on your own. As you're making your assessment, evaluate everything in your life, the big expenses like housing, transportation, health care, retirement, savings, education, if that's a piece in there for you, either for yourself or for family members who you're helping with their education. Along with thinking about the big things, also think about the daily things. How do you go about purchasing things that you need? How much do you store? Assess where you are. Assess what's working and assess what's not working. And then let's move on to number 2. Number 2, look specifically at your budget. As part of this whole assessment process, assess whether your budget is working for you right now. It's possible that you have a budgeting system or a budgeting program that you like, but it needs to be shifted a little bit in order to just give you a bit more success in planning your frugal life. It could also be that the budgeting strategy that worked well for you when you were in a household of 2, 3, 4, or more doesn't really work now that you're on your own. And it's okay to acknowledge that and look for ways to tweak it. If you need some help with a budget, I love and recommend You Need a Budget. I recommend it in almost every video. And if you haven't clicked the link to try 34 days free, I'd love to encourage you to do it, because it's a system that is flexible whether you have 10 people in your household or 1 person in your household. You may similarly have a budget plan that you love. Tell us about it below in the comments. How do you plan your budget? And has your budget changed going from a larger household to a smaller household? I'm very curious. Number 3, downsize. This is particularly for those of us who are in the process of going from a larger number of people in the home to a smaller number of people in the home. You may not want to downsize everything in your life immediately as soon as you become the only person in your house. That's probably unrealistic. But look ahead to how you can downsize so that you can get the most bang for your buck for your living needs. And those should include possibly allowing space for people to come and stay with you. But think about downsizing both your house, your car, and any other aspect of your life that is big, that has been devoted to not just your care and keeping, but to the care and keeping of other people. Now that you do not have the daily care and keeping of other people to attend to, what do you actually need? Take all the time that you need. If you're in the first year of a transition from a multi-person household to a single-person household, you may not want to change anything until the end of that first year, because that's a big change to go through. And you may want a year to evaluate what do you need to downsize. Take the time that you need. But don't plan on rattling around in that big house all by yourself forever. You won't enjoy it, and you don't need to. Take your time, but downsize. Number 4, shop small. That is to say, all of the things that we talk about on frugal living videos about buying in bulk and stocking up, these things still apply, but in a smaller way. You might not buy 10 cans of something, you might buy 2 cans of something. You might not buy 4 bags of beans, you might buy 1 bag of beans. You might not buy 5 chickens to stick in the freezer. You might buy 1 chicken to stick in the freezer. In other words, think about shopping smarter. And when it's a household item as well, you're not going to go through as much laundry detergent as you did when you had 5 kids at home. You don't need to have 3 or 4 laundry detergents stacked up one after the other. Those of you who have made that transition from having lots of people in your home to just you, what kinds of things did you discover about shopping smaller and shopping smarter so that bulk is sort of there but sort of not? Or do you still have a huge pantry and a huge freezer? What are you doing? Tell me about it. And while you're commenting, would you go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already? Hit the notifications bell so you'll get notified first of new videos. And if you'd like to support the growth of the channel, click the link below for Buy Me a Coffee. Number 5, cook what you will eat. This can be both terrifying and completely liberating, especially if you've been cooking for family members for the last couple of decades. When you're on your own, you finally have the opportunity to think to yourself, what do I actually like? This also applies to any young folks who are watching who are out on their own for the first time and preparing their own food. What do you like? Buy that at the store in the right size quantities for your household, which is a household of 1, and cook and eat what you like. What are your preferences that your mom never made for you? What is that spice that your children would never allow you to put in a dish? Go for it. Number 6, use smaller pots, smaller pans, smaller baking trays, smaller cooking devices. I learned this from America's Test Kitchen. One of their videos not terribly long ago addressed this question of how do you cook food so that you really enjoy it when it's just for 1. And they interviewed one of the Test Kitchen cooks who lives on his own. And he said that what was an absolute game changer for him was to buy smaller baking trays. He bought the kind of baking trays that you can fit into a large toaster oven or convection oven. And instead of baking on a huge baking tray that fills the whole oven, he was baking on smaller trays. So then he didn't have to eat the same thing all week. This also means, of course, that you might be able to cook in your toaster oven and you still have leftovers. I have a crock pot that's large and I have a crock pot that's small. If you're living on your own, you could get rid of the large crock pot. Do you like to use a multi-cooker? Get the smaller size, like the 3-quart instead of the 6 or 8-quart. Think about setting yourself up for success in your kitchen, just as you did when you had a larger household and you needed more and larger pots and pans. Now you might need something that's a bit more tailored. Smaller, smaller, smaller. Number 7, identify people who need your help right now. Being a solo person in a solo household doesn't mean being completely isolated from the rest of the world, and you likely have family obligations and community obligations that are really important to you. You might have adult children who require occasional attention and care of some sort. You might have elderly family members who you're helping to support and care for and guide them through their senior years. You may have a community project that you're particularly committed to. Identify these things and make those part of your household. Yes, of course, you get to have your house exactly how you want it, the size that works for you, the level of cleanliness that works for you, the kinds of foods that you want in quantities that you want. It's a wonderful launching off place to really help other people who need your help. And this leads to number 8, which is to identify the help that you need. I know that often for women, we may not have been socialized to learn how to repair stuff around the house. I certainly wasn't. And it's useful for me to have people that I can call to come and repair things. I can watch a YouTube video and give it a try, but I'm not really great at it. And so it's important for me to reach out to get the help that I need. And you may need help with things like repairs around the house. You may need the help that YouTube provides so that you can learn how to do it yourself. That's great. You go for it. A lot of times we also need some help with financial planning as we move through different stages of life, and you can watch YouTube videos for that, but sometimes it's helpful to talk to a person about your financial situation right now and what's your best path forward. So don't be afraid to reach out for help. Again, living alone and being on your own does not mean being a hermit or being isolated. So take the help that's available, reach out for what you need. Number 9, hobbies. Have some. It's possible that you're working a bajillion hours and you're just watching this video to decompress. If so, thank you for watching this video to decompress. But most of us, if we're living in a solo household, it's possible that we have a little more time than we ever had before, and there may have been something you wanted to start doing 15 or 20 years ago that you finally have time to do. I teach voice lessons exclusively right now to folks who are retired, who finally have the time and the disposable income to pay for voice lessons. It's wonderful. It is so much fun. And you similarly may have that one hobby that you always wanted to take up. What's your hobby? What do you do or what do you want to do? Number 10, along with a hobby, find activities out in your community and social activities that you can do. These may be related to the help that you're providing out in your community, but I'm talking about something that you can do that's enjoyable, that's so much fun. The town where I live has a very active community theater, and even last summer at the height of the pandemic, they were able to do their Shakespeare in the Park as a drive-in movie theater type of situation where the actors were socially distanced on stage in a parking lot, and people drove in, and using a local radio station frequency, they were able to listen to the actors as they watched them from their cars. This became so popular that the theater company was thinking about doing it again, even outside of pandemic times. Community is important, and joining your local community to help make your community better while you're enjoying yourself gives you a wonderful sense of freedom and also of connection that's so important. Shirley MacLaine, the actor, author, and lifelong spiritual student, said this: "The most powerful relationship we will ever have is the one with ourselves." Where are you on your frugal living journey? Do you have a household of many people? Or are you one of those folks who's by yourself, possibly for the first time in your life, and you're wondering how it's going to go? It's gonna go great. Take the next step on that journey, whatever that next step is for you, and know that you are not alone, and I'm so proud of you. Live frugally, change your life, and together we will change the world. I can't wait to see you again soon. Bye-bye.